Good day, Africa, and welcome to AAU TV. This is Agenda 2063, a show where we look at African Union's Agenda 2063 document. And remember, the Agenda 2063 document is a strategic framework for the socio-economic transformation of the African continent over the next 50 years. We are still on the first aspiration, that is a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. On today's show, we'll be looking at Africa's human and social capital and how the two of them work together for us to achieve a prosperous Africa as we want it. We will look at a host of issues, but before we do that, let's take a short break, and when we're back, I will introduce you to our guest and the list of issues we'll be talking about. Stay with us.
My name is Dr. Violet Makuku, a quality assurance expert with the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities is here with the African Quality Rating Mechanism, internal institutional evaluation tool that can help you improve the quality of higher education, whether it is in teaching and learning, in ICT, in infrastructure, financial management, university management, and all the other aspects whose quality should be monitored in the university. Kindly follow the provided links for you to understand more about the African Quality Rating Mechanism, institutional evaluation process, and also to get hold of the form that you can use to express interest. AAU, the voice of higher education in Africa.
2063. On today's episode, we are looking at Africa's human and social capital and how the two of them work together for us to achieve a prosperous Africa that is based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Most of the time we get questions such as, how does Africa's human and social capital help us to achieve economic growth and development? What are the challenges we face in developing our human and social capital on the continent? We look at these issues and a host of other issues here on AAU TV. And then to help me do that, I have with me a professor in computer and a professor in information technology. He's also the president of Accra Institute of Technology. He works with United Nations mission to Africa, and then a lot of other assignments with the United Nations. His name is Professor Clement Dzidonu. Welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes.
This is Agenda 2063.
Yep.
And today we are looking at Africa's human and social capital.
Yes.
So we are looking at this and how it transforms into achieving the aspiration one of the Agenda 2063, which is a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development.
Yeah.
But then before we go into the questions,
yes,
we need to demystify the terms.
Yes.
Human capital, social capital. What do we mean when we say human capital and then social capital?
Well, thank you very much for having me on this show. Of those two terms, the human capital is quite straightforward.
Okay.
So that's the easy one. Let me handle that first.
All right.
And then I'll talk about the social capital, which is more or less a new term.
Okay.
Human capital basically is the type of skills, the expertise that we need in order to do things.
Okay.
Whether work in organizations, work in manufacturing, run things here and there. So the skills and the expertise and the know-how that you require in order to achieve them. Human beings are all always in a process of development, okay, in order to contain their situation, in order to provide for their living. So the skills and the work without that you need to do that are the human capital. In the olden ancient days, people learned to hunt. They go to, because hunting is a profession.
Okay.
So you must get a skill how to hunt.
Okay.
Unless you want to be, you want to get in trouble in the forest. These days, we don't do a lot of hunting. We work in factories, we work in companies, we work in industry, we work in banks. We need a skill to achieve that. And the accumulation of those skills to develop things is what moves a nation forward.
Okay.
In today's knowledge age, well, you may have some gold, you may have some timber, you may have some diamonds, but actually the main driving force, the main ingredient, which is facilitating development in today's age, is human capital, or in other words, human resources.
All right.
So that's what I said, that's the easy one to define.
Okay.
When it comes to social capital, unfortunately, there's no one single definition, because it's a very new term. Before we think that social capital means social media, I think we need to be very careful.
Yes, that is very important.
I also came across the term very recently. Okay. So I think instead of pretending that I know everything about this term, I would prefer to go on the net and see some of the definitions that is out there. Okay. And once we are all on the same page, if we try to, then we can be actually try to unbundle it. Okay. Now on the net, there's a piece here from OECD. Incidentally, OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It's the group, a club of the very advanced nations in the world. I think their headquarters is based in Paris. Yeah. And they put a piece here on social media, social capital. I was wondering, this is Organization for Economic Development and cooperation between involved countries like America, the European countries, the big countries. Where are they interested in defining what is social capital? But let's see what it said. They did agree that there's no single definition for social capital, but they say for the sake of simplicity, however, we can think of social capital as the links, shared values and understandings in society that enable individuals and groups to trust each other and so work together. Okay. Links, share values and understanding that enable individuals and groups to trust each other and to work together. Okay. Certainly work together, to live together for development. Then they continue that there are varieties of social capital. Okay. The first one is what they call bonds. Okay. That is links to people based on a sense of common identity. Okay, common identities such as family, okay, close friends and people who share our culture or ethnicity. Okay. So it might be cause the tribes, our tribes are type of those bonds, our families, our close friends as type of the bonds as part of social capital. The next one is bridges, where they say links that stretch beyond a shared sense of identity. Okay, that go beyond your tribe. For example, distant friends and colleagues and associates. Okay. It may even be a business associate.
So like in a form of networks.
Networks, yes, networks. Probably the social media may be one of those bridges we are talking about. Then we talk about linkages, links to people or groups further up or lower down the social ladder. So they think these are the three varieties of social capital. They continue that the social capital can be defined as networking together with shared norms and values and understandings. Networking together, shared norms, values and understanding that facilitate cooperation within and among people. Okay? And they think that the type of network they're talking about is network of friends, network of family networks, network of former colleagues and so forth. But when it comes to the norms, he said norms understandings are things that are very apparent. Things that when you break it, everybody knows you've broken a norm. You've broken a custom. Okay? You've broken some rules of engagement of a society. And of course, values are things which are changing as we go. For example, there's now some intergenerational values, the values that we obey. So that in totality is a way of trying to abandon what we mean by social media. One last piece, which is put forward by the New Economy. It's a paper. It says social capital provides the glue which facilitates cooperation between people and groups, exchange between people and groups, and also innovation. So the way innovation here is hinged towards something. It's not just about networking. It's not about values, sharing values and norms, but also add to innovation for human development. So there's a little link there on how social capital can actually facilitate development. As for the human capital, it's quite straightforward that we need it in order to facilitate development. I hope this unbundled these two terms a little bit.
Thank you,
yes.
Prof.
Yes.
So now that we've been able to demystify these two terms, social and human capital, let's go into the main topic, and then we look at how these two, human capital and social capital, they work individually or collectively to achieve economic growth and development.
Okay. I think there's that piece I've just read to you. There's a last sentence here. It's a human and social capital don't exist in isolation from each other.
Okay.
The two are linked in complex ways and to some extent feed into each other.
Okay.
In other words, social capital promotes the development of human capital. Let's see how that could happen.
Okay.
Can you imagine a situation where there are no networks of people? There are no links between people. There are no bridges between people. Okay? But these people are highly skilled, have complex expertise. How do you think they can be able to link up with other people if in case the social capital is zero in order to facilitate development or even the movement of the organizations? So it's quite obvious that you may have all the skills you want to have, but without a social capital, then link it to other people, connect it to other people to bring harmony. Big bridges between you and other people, your co-workers, your friends, is that correct?
Yeah.
Your neighbors, and
your office mates,
people in your country. Certainly, I don't think you can get very far. So what they are saying here is that you can get a human capital, which is quite straightforward. You may go to school and get it, you could go for apprenticeship and get it. But when you come to the bigger society, where those links and bridges are broken down, I don't think there will be harmony for us to achieve some development. So you need the two together. The social capital gives you a peace of mind, linking the human side of things, the softer part of things, and then a human capital, which is at the hard things. I'll call the human capital at the hard ones, and then the social capital at the soft things. You can look at hardware and software. The hardware and software must work together before computer can produce things. You cannot have internet without hardware and software. So probably you look at the social capital at the soft side, and then the human capital as the hard side. The two must link together. You cannot have a people with negative or zero social capital with high human capital to achieve anything in a society.
So let's look at how human capital, improving upon our human capital, links to socio-economic development. Also, it links to reduction in poverty, how it links to reduction in inequality, how it leads to improvement in standard of living.
Now, let's break it down. As I said earlier, we are in the world of where knowledge is very, very important. We are moving towards a knowledge and information economy. The key requirement for developing such an economy is human resources. That is why you see some countries, like the Asian targets, they don't have a lot of natural resources, but they are leading the world. Even if you look at China now, China, which is considered the factory of the world, a lot of human capital, but they are also now moving towards serious innovation in order to develop those goods and services for the consumption of the people, also for export. It's quite obvious that human capital is a key driver for any development, any socio-economic development in any country, in information and knowledge age, where technology is running everything. That's the key point. Now, we in Africa, and again, I want to make the point, it's not any human capital. You must be relevant human capital. In other words, if you go and get skills for yesterday's jobs, you're not going to get a job because those jobs don't exist anymore. Think about 10 years back. There are some skills and some professions we have now which were not available 10 years ago because of the technology that made that possible. Something like digital marketing managers, something like people who are managing web systems. Those skills were not available before, but they are now very, very important. So with the changing state of our economy, you must get skills that are relevant.
Okay.
And I think that is where we are lacking a little bit behind on the continent. But certainly, in terms of developing human resources, it's quite critical for our development. I made a point earlier on that you can put all your resources in developing the skills of your people.
Okay.
But if you are negative or you are low on social capital, as we define here,
Yeah.
it's to provide links, bridges, okay, network between people, okay, the norms, people obey, follow the norms, the good ones,
Yeah.
and then actually upholding the values of society. For example, in African society, we believe a lot in sharing.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
if one person is educated or have the skills in our neighborhood, he is supposed to make sure that whatever he gets, you manage to share.
Yeah.
Okay? But yes, yeah, you share a little bit. In other words, let's reduce the burden for other people. That can also minimize poverty a little bit on other people. Okay. Look at things like remittances. Yeah. In some African countries, a lot of their foreign exchange depend on remittances. Yeah. Remittances is a part of a social capital. You see, families have a network, and we are depending on you. When you go up there, you get some money, send us something. We want to use it for paying school fees, to develop another type of human capital, to pay for our health care, okay, because we need to be healthy, in order to work in the farm, in order to do this. So this is an example of a social capital giving some dividend, okay, to alleviate poverty, okay, to develop other human capital, and to provide health care and so forth, and also for economic development. So you can see that there is some link between human capital and social capital within the context of Africa and other parts of the world.
All working together for us to achieve, eradicate poverty and then all those stuff. So I want to zoom in specifically to reduction of poverty. I want us to take them one after the other. Reduction of poverty. What will be the link between developing our human capital and how it links to reduction in poverty?
Okay. As I said before, in today's age, you must produce goods and services that other people are willing to buy and pay for. Okay. It's as simple as that. Okay? Now, if you don't produce those goods and services, you can't sell. If you can't sell, you remain poor as people, as nations, as continent. Okay? To produce those goods and services in information knowledge-based economy, you need human capital, the right one. That's what people go to university for. That's what people do in engineering. That's what people do information technology. That's what people take business courses. You need a human capital in order to produce, support, or facilitate the production of those goods and services which you can consume as a nation, which you can sell to somebody else to earn foreign exchange, to do the other things that you need to do as a nation. One of the reasons why people say we Africa, we are not very developed, is that we depend a lot on selling of primary products. A lot of this, we don't even add value to them. People ask, we don't really have the expertise to add value to them, because when you add value to primary things, you get more money out of it. Okay, we tend to export our timber with that little value added. Okay, we export our cocoa with that very little value added. Okay, one pod of cocoa will cost much cheaper than one bar of chocolate. How do you convert that cocoa into one bar of chocolate? You need expertise to do that. You need a bit of innovation to do that. If you don't do that, you continue selling the cocoa to some people who will convert it to a chocolate and sell back to you. And the little money that you made for the cocoa, you need to buy a higher bar of chocolate, unless you say that I'm not going to eat chocolate. So the situation we have is that it's not clear whether we don't have the human capital in order to add some value to some of the things we produce. Take, for example, the richest companies in the world, the Googles, the Yahoos, and the Microsofts, Amazon. They produce knowledge products. Knowledge products, that's all they produce. But when recently I heard that the Facebook money they are making is almost the GDP of a lot of African countries combined.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's just human capital which is producing those goods and services. Then you ask yourself, why can't we also do that in Africa? So it's not more about exporting cocoas and timbers and those things. It's developing those goods and services that people want to buy and bring you some money. And to do that, you need the right human capital in order to do that.
Okay.
Do you know in the next 20 years, Africa will have the highest share, what they call the working age population.
Yeah.
The share of the working age population, that is the age between 15 to 65.
Yeah.
Africa as a continent will have the highest.
Sure.
In other part of the world, okay, they don't have that kind of people. Yeah. The prediction is also that in some couple of years to come, the rest of the world must come to Africa to recruit human resources because they don't have a lot of people in their working age population.
Okay. Japan
is already going down. Europe and others are following up. The Indians have already achieved their, what they call it, this we call it this demographic dividend.
Yeah.
Only we, Africans, are going to have a budge in the number of people between the 15 and 65. And these people must be trained to produce those goods or services which you can sell to other people in order to make the money. Certainly, once you do that, of course, you're going to reduce poverty.
Okay, so I see kind of a leverage here because you talked about in future Africa is going to have the largest percentage of working age group members. Okay,
yes.
So I see a leverage here, something Africa can use to our advantage because in future definitely they will come to us, and then when they come, we need to make sure that the human capital is built to the level that we can leverage on it to cause development.
Yes.
So right now, what strategies would you suggest to African governments to develop our human capital as we have them now?
Well, that is why we have the universities for.
Yeah.
That's why we have the technical schools for.
Yeah.
If I would advise any African government, if you have $1,
okay,
$1, and you want to spend some cents on human healthcare, some cents on this, some cents on that, spend quite a chunk on that, on developing human capital.
Okay.
Those human capital will produce those goods and services I'm talking about, the right human capital I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then you should be able to, when the time comes, you are people, and you don't have to move to Europe or Japan to work for them.
Yeah.
You can still be in Africa and work for them.
Sure.
And earn a lot of dollars and use it to reduce poverty in your neighborhood.
Exactly.
So but there's a danger here.
Okay.
If we don't develop such a working age population, what you're going to have is we're going to have a lot of untrained, uneducated, unemployable, unemployed, young people, and hungry people. And that can also cause a lot of social upheaval.
Yeah.
So it's not all plus.
Yes.
But if you train them, you're going to have educated workforce,
okay,
employable, employed, okay, produce goods and services that can compete internationally, that can uplift the continent.
Okay.
So it's an opportunity. This demographic dividend, the South America have already passed through it, and they've used it very well.
Okay.
The Indians have passed through it, and use it very well.
Sure.
But what we're not sure is whether we in Africa are going to take advantage of this opportunity in order to transform our working age population into an asset that will facilitate development, which means that we must develop that skill. And once we are developing that skill, we must keep an eye on the social capital.
Exactly.
As I say, you can have an educated workforce, but when your social capital is not good or is minimum, you're going to have a lot of dislocated systems. Yes. And then if you don't have peace, you will not be able to produce things or you're not able to develop. So they all go together. So it's very important for the cohesion of the society. It's very, very important. You must look at, so all these wars and conflict on the continent does not augur very well to facilitate development.
Okay.
You spend a lot of resources to try to fight conflict, solve these conflict situations. Okay, there's some African countries that the youth don't even have opportunity to go to school.
Yeah.
Because the resources to develop the schools are used to manage this negative social capital.
And that will probably in time lead to a lot of inequalities in the system.
Yes.
And that is something we want to avoid.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Not in a case where we will have development,
yes,
but then it's not spread across.
That's correct.
Yes, that is something.
Yes, and I read something very recently. I'm not pretty sure whether we need to embark on the same type of development like those ahead of us.
Okay. Can you please elaborate on that?
Recently, a study came out that young people in the UK, I may get it wrong, I think BBC published something like that,
Yeah.
are quite depressed.
Okay.
Okay, they are depressed. They did a survey of a number of countries.
Yeah.
There is a situation where the social capital is going down.
Yeah.
So you can be advanced nation, well developed, but have negative social capital.
Yeah.
We can avoid that.
Yes.
African as a society, we tend to have connectedness.
Yeah.
We are connected to our people. We are very connected people.
Yeah.
If you can maintain that, whilst at the same time developing, I think we'll come up top.
Okay.
So development does not necessarily mean that you up your social capital game. Sometimes development can break up the fabric of a society if you're not careful.
Okay. All right. So in order not to fall into the trap of what the advanced countries have done already, but you see that they are developed by what you mentioned earlier, that when you go to the UK, we have a chunk of the youth that are depressed. In order to avoid falling into that trap, what strategies should we adopt?
Well, the strategy we should adopt is that whilst we are doing everything to develop using our human capital, we should also try as much as possible to take advantage of some of the things we have as Africans.
Okay.
As I said, we are already good on social capital.
Yeah.
Because of the way we do our things.
Yeah.
And we are very much family bonded people, and we are connected very much to our community, and there are bridges in our system. I'm talking about a situation where we don't have wars.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
We like to help each other. We share very much. The family system is still together.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. We should be careful. We should be mindful that development, without keeping an eye on that, will end up giving a development and break down in that.
That is why it is important
to keep an eye on that.
Both
yes.
social and then human capital.
Very good. And the West, who are developed, they also used to have a big in social capital.
Okay.
They used to. They used to have communities. They used to have connected. There are societies in the West now where what happened to your neighbor, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Some people in the same neighborhood, they have never said hello to each other for a long, long time.
Yeah.
They don't even know each other's name. That doesn't happen in Africa.
Yeah.
But they used to be like us, have social capital. But with development, I'm not blaming development for it. I'm just saying that when you become more prosperous, you become very independent and a little bit individualistic.
Yeah.
So we need to mind for those things.
Whilst focusing on human capital, we should also have an eye on
the social capital. Government must put in place policies, social interventions, okay, put in place programs, awareness, okay, let people know that social capital is real.
Okay.
It may sound natural to us now, but it's real.
Okay.
It's something, it's an asset we must keep in mind, it's an asset we must protect whilst we are moving on our development agenda. And for the development agenda, the human capital is the answer. Okay. The right type of human capital, certainly with the idea that we are producing, not only for them to consume. As I said, the richest companies in the world are only based on human capital. Mm-hmm. Okay? Okay. The richest companies, look around. They're not selling no commodities. Yeah. You first time you wonder why they're selling to be so rich. It's just product and services, knowledge product and services. Look at Microsoft. Yeah. The Microsoft Windows is just one master copy, but it solely does 100 times. But in Africa, we sell things, once you sell it once, and then that's it. So you want to develop human capital, which will develop those knowledge products which you can sell over and over again. It's doable. It's done by human beings. Okay. And those who may be committed to do that. And in Africa, we can do it. And those are the things to watch at all as we move into this opportunity where we're going to be benefiting for the demographic dividend.
Prof, it's very critical. So whilst doing all these things, what are the challenges we are likely to face?
Well, a lot of challenges. One of the challenges is fund and money. Okay. You know, a lot of our universities are struggling with funds. Sure. Both the public and the private universities are struggling. Yeah. The society itself, the economy is also struggling, so they don't have money to move up the ladder in terms of developing the human capital we are talking about. Those are some of the key challenges.
Okay.
It becomes a chicken and egg business. We want to develop the human capital in order to develop the goods and services to move us there, but we have money even to develop that human capital. Okay. That's one big challenge. Okay. Another challenge we have is the governance issue in Africa, what we all know about. The conflicts on the continent. Yeah. Okay, the little money we got, we spend it on resolving those issues. Yeah. That is another decision. And climatic change is also affecting us very badly. Yeah. Something we need to watch out for. Okay. So, and there's the usual African problems of underdevelopment. Okay. Underdevelopment also gives you a lot of problems, challenges that is making it difficult to break away from. Those are some of the issues, the governance issue, okay, the issues of resources in order to develop that human capital, and appropriate policies, which is in tune with what is happening now. A number of these African countries have policies to develop a sector which they know very well that we cannot develop. Even if we develop, we cannot compete on that. Okay. So I think the right policies of government, forward-looking, see what others have done, okay, what we can copy from them, we copy, what is relevant to us, we can do. Okay. But those things are very important. And some of those policies have been written. Okay. Some of those policies have been put in place. And the implementation of those policies are very, very important. Okay. But I think the African governments could play a key role here. Take, for example, education. Okay. I think the African government are responsible for developing the necessary human resource in order to transform our economy. Okay. And if they're not supporting that, then certainly we cannot get there.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much.
This has been a good interaction. You know, you've given us a lot of insight into our human and then social capital and how we can leverage it to achieve a prosperous and then sustainable development in Africa. Prof, before we go, I will give you the opportunity to say your final words concerning this topic and any other thing you want to put out there to Africa.
Very good. Agenda 63 is a very important one. Yeah. We just hope and pray that is not one of those agendas. Africa had a lot of agendas in the past. Okay. Okay, we have the Lagos plan, we have the NEPA, we have all kind of those agendas. It's a beautiful document. I read it. Not big, but very beautiful document. Okay. Well thought through. I think it's extremely important, like the way we look at this one aspiration, okay, and then debate it, create awareness. How many Africans are even aware of this agenda? That is I doubt it. Yeah.
You go to our universities, you meet students in the
you don't know what is agenda. No. Yeah. But they know a lot of what is happening on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, they know a lot. But when they say Agenda 63, they say, I don't know what it's all about. Yeah. I think awareness creation is because some of the young people in university, we talk about 50 years, these are the people who are actually going to drive this agenda. And they don't even know about it. Yeah. I think that's extremely important, and more publicity like you guys must be giving, the AAU must play a key role, because the people who are going to drive this continent, most of them are, a lot of them are university. Sure. So you must play some role there, roll this out, let a lot of people know about it, let's debate it, let's talk about how to do it. Okay. The agenda is what to do. Okay. How to do it is the fundamental thing. And I think we need more awareness on this issue.
Thank you very much, Prof.
You. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching us live on Facebook, remember you can also add your comments and suggestions, and then you can also follow us on Twitter at AAU_67, where you can send us your suggestions and then your comments. Today on Agenda 2063, we have been looking at Africa's human and social capital. And then if you were with us throughout the interactions, you saw that our Professor Clement Dzidonu was able to give us a lot of insight on how we can develop our social and then human capital as Africans. It's important for you also to look at the Agenda 2063 document and how you can also contribute towards achieving a prosperous Africa in the next 50 years. Next episode, we will bring you a lot of interesting interactions on Agenda 2063. Thank you very much for being with us. I've been your host, Schnineda Ankomah.